Hi guys, I'm David with MediaUnlock.net, and today we're going to be talking about wedding video and all the equipment that I use and everything that I do to set it up the day before I actually shoot a wedding. This year I'll be shooting about 10 photo weddings and about 20 video weddings. So I do these almost every weekend or every other weekend, and I thought it would be time to show you all the equipment I use and everything that I do to set up the day before. I get all my settings set up, batteries charged, everything packed the day before. So that way when I wake up in the morning, especially if the wedding's out of town and I have to drive somewhere, I can just grab my equipment and I can go. So let's get started. So a few things that I take on every wedding. A monopod. A monopod is very, very important. This is the Liebeck monopod right here. And this thing is fantastic because it works like a tripod. I can set this down, and with the camera on it, it does work similar to a tripod, but it still is a little bit wobbly. But this thing is great for very specific shots, especially while the bride is getting ready, doing like makeup. I also really like this during the ceremony because I can take this and I can move around and still have a nice steady shot as I'm moving around the ceremony. So I use the monopod here probably 30% of the day. Maybe as much as 40% of the day, 40% of my shots will be on the monopod, which is very important. So if you aren't using a monopod for your video weddings, I would highly suggest checking it out. Now this video is going to take a while to get through, so if I put you guys to sleep, I'm really sorry. This is for the people that actually do this, I think, professionally or want to get into this professionally, because you know, this is really my my workflow, my pre-workflow before I actually start shooting a wedding. Maybe we'll actually do some video of me at a wedding and walk you through some of the shots I like to get and stuff like that. So monopod is a very important thing. So we're going to set the monopod over here to the side. I run 2 tripods. I just have this really basic carbon fiber $100 tripod that I picked up years ago. It's kind of flimsy. This is really more of a hiking tripod. It's great for like landscape work, but I put the GoPro on it. I have the Sony a7R III and the Sony a7 III, but I like to have 3 cameras during the ceremony, and I don't want to spend another $2 grand on another camera, so I have the GoPro Hero 7, which is what we're shooting on right now. That way we can actually kind of walk you through some of the stuff when it comes to my Sony cameras, so we can use those instead of using those to actually shoot this video. So I'll set the GoPro Hero 7 up, and I'll set it up as a wide angle shot. So it's kind of like if one of the other cameras goes down or there's a lapse in footage during the ceremony, you can cut to the GoPro and you at least have that footage. And actually the GoPro Hero 7, as you guys can see, the quality is not that bad. So this will be my GoPro tripod. And then I have the Manfrotto, I'm trying to remember what one this is. This is the Manfrotto 055 MF4. And I really, really like this. This is my main tripod for setting up. Usually I'll set my 70-200 up on this with the Sony a7 III, a7R III, and this will be my tight shot, so I'm able to get it really far away from the couple and kind of shoot tightly into them. And then, so the GoPro is the wide shot. This will be a tight shot on this, and in the monopod we'll have my mobile shot. And sometimes I'll use the gimbal, and I'll actually, not always with the 7200, but sometimes I'll actually set the gimbal on this tripod, and that way I can set the gimbal on the tripod or pick the gimbal up during the ceremony and move around with it, depending on what lens I'm using and what the lighting situation is at the church or wherever the ceremony is happening. Next thing that I use is the Zion Crane 2. This gimbal is amazing. This is probably the other, I would say 50 to 60% of all my shots end up here with the 28mm f2 for Sony. I know that I recently charged these, but I always open up the case and I make sure that I have all the pieces. So, and everything is set up in here. What I will do though, because I'm not 100% positive that I charged these, even though I believe I did, I will go on and pull out the batteries, and I have a little charging station that I have a bunch of cords. I have like a power strip and a ton of different cords depending on what I need, everything from USB-C to Android to iPhone. And I will grab that and I will double check. And it looks like 2 of the batteries still need charging. The reason I like the Crane 2 over some of the other gimbals in the market is because this will get me, I think I use a medium motor speed. So like the amount of, the amount that the motor puts into it, I think it's at medium. So you have, if you have a really light setup, you'll use a light motor, medium motor for a medium setup, and then if you're doing something like a 7200 on your Sony, you'll do a heavy motor. If it's set to heavy, it will take about 8 hours to run out of battery life. If you're set to medium, you get about 12, and if you're set to light, I think you get close to 14 or 15. So mainly, I can leave this Crane 2 on all day long, and I can just set it down, come back to it, pick it back up, and it's being left on the whole time, and I'm not going to run out of battery life with it, which is great. So, and also I've had a lot more extensive practice with the Crane 2. So I really, really like the Crane 2 gimbal. If you don't have a gimbal and you are shooting weddings, I would say that it's a must-have. The gimbal has really changed the way I shoot weddings, and it's super easy to set up. It takes me less than 2 minutes to actually get this balanced, which is really great. Now, if you guys do want to know how to balance a Crane 2, just type in Crane 2 balance, and I have a video on that. I think it's got like 75,000 views on it. So, so it's super easy. So, Crane 2, very important to have. The next big item that I sometimes use and sometimes don't use, depending on time. Again, a lot of these weddings that I'm shooting, I don't have a second shooter. So think of this as I am first shooting without a second shooter most of these weddings that I'm talking about here. So this is my workflow. This is how I set up, knowing that I'm not going to have a second person assisting me with the camera equipment, with shooting, all that kind of stuff. So I have to get all the shots I need by myself. So the next thing is I have the Mavic Air. I really, really like this this drone. It's super compact. It gets good enough footage. I do think I want to go to a full 1-inch sensor like the Phantom 4 or the Mavic Pro 2. So, but this works pretty well. So the things that I'll do for this is first I'll check batteries and see where we're at. And I actually was using this last night. So I know I need to charge batteries. So I'm going to go on, and I have plugs here, and I'm going to go on and get batteries charged. If you do fly a drone, I would highly suggest doing all these steps that I'm about to walk you guys through the night before your wedding. It's very important, I think. So let's see where the controller's at 3 out of 4. If I have another connection in here, which I might be using all those up, actually, let me grab this. And I'm going to go on and put the controller on the charger just so that it's at full battery life for tomorrow. Again, guys, it's kind of a long video because I'm literally going on and setting up for tomorrow's wedding right now. So you're seeing everything that happens. So the next thing is I know that the drone, I know that this battery's dead because we were shooting a river last night, and it got some pretty cool shots. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this battery in, and then I usually use the iPad. I have I don't know what iPad this is, but a newer iPad. And what I would do is I will go on and turn on the drone. So I'm going to set that here. And I need to check to see if there are any updates. I always try to update the drone the night before, and I'll go on and format the SD card. So I will grab my mini SD or micro SD card for this drone. There it is. And we'll go on and format that. So it will be ready to shoot as soon as I turn it on tomorrow if I end up using it. Now I will need this controller. So I'm going to grab this controller because that is how I'm going to update the drone itself and format the card. So what we'll do is we'll go on and pop the card in here. And we will connect the iPad, which the iPad is at 26%, so that needs to be charged as well. So we will need to charge the iPad and the controller. So what we'll do is we'll go on and turn the controller on, turn the iPad on, and we will check to see if there are any updates in the DJI app that need to be done to the drone or the app itself. So let's see what it says here. Oh yeah, we're in a, I'm right next to the airport, so it's pretty much telling me that I cannot fly this drone because my house is right next to the airport. And you have to be up to 3 to 5 miles away from the airport to fly your drone. I do highly suggest that you do acquire a drone license if you're going to be doing it and you're going to be getting paid for it. I think that that's very important. So, there is an update, so I'm going to go on and hit that update, and we'll download that now. And so we're going to go on and update the drone right now, and that was a really simple update, and so now I'm updated. So that's very important. Certain updates will not allow you to fly your drone until you get that update. If you're in the middle of a wedding and you need to update it, that is an issue. So, update has been taken care of. We'll go on and put this on the charger so we can get up to 100% for tomorrow. We will go on and turn this drone off. Oh, well, I forgot one thing that needs to be done. So we'll go on and do that because I mentioned I was going to. So we'll pop it back in. We need to format the SD card in the drone. So we'll go on and do that real quick. So that, again, even though this is a pretty large SD card, it will be easier. I like to have everything formatted so that when I back it up, I don't have to worry about bumping into footage from previous shoots, and I have to decipher which is which. So I'm just gonna pop in here. And you know, I've already got my settings set for video, so if you don't, I would preset the basic settings that you're going to use for every video. So we'll go on and format the card. SD card formatted, so now that's good. So now we can put this on the charger. And we'll put the controller on the charger. And there's the controller. So now we got the controller on the charger. And then this drone. And I go on and put a battery in the night before. So this has a full charge battery. So I'm going to go on and put that in so I don't have to put that battery in tomorrow. The first battery will already be set up. So SD card's good. First battery's good. So the drone is now ready to fly. Minus the controller and the iPad that are charging at the moment. But I've got everything pretty much set up. So that is good. Boom, this is ready to go. We just need to come back in here in a couple hours, make sure things are charged up. So next thing that we need to do is we need to start filling up my camera bag. So we'll go on and open up the camera bag. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab 2 batteries right here. And we'll go on and throw these in. Now I have very specific settings that I use for shooting video at weddings. I shoot at 1080p at 60 frames per second for the simple fact that it allows me to slow the footage down if I'm not using the 120 at 1080. At 60p, you can slow your footage down to 40%, and that's really nice to have. So unless it's a ceremony or a very stagnant shot, if there's movement, I'm at 60p. So the next thing that I need to do is I need to put SD cards in here. Double check to make sure there's nothing important on your SD cards. I personally know there's nothing important on my SD cards here. I've already backed up all that footage. So I use a 64 and a 128. Of course, the 128 being my main SD card. I very rarely shoot enough to run through that full 128, and I'll go on and turn the camera on. And I'll go on and format these cards. So these cards will be completely formatted and ready to go in the morning, so I don't have to worry about that. I mean, the idea is that I literally pull up to the wedding, I pull out my camera, I put the lenses on, I set it up on the Monopod and the gimbal, and I'm shooting within like 10 minutes of walking into the room. Usually at these weddings, most weddings, I'm walking right into the bride and the bridesmaids getting ready. So I need to be ready to jump right into it. So We'll go into settings. Now you do have what's called custom settings on your Sonys, which I have them preset. So if you guys see here, you have those custom settings right here, and I have 1 through 3, and I have those preset with the settings that I know I'm going to use. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go on and format both card slots. So I'm formatting both card slots right now, and that may take a second. It's, man, these things are so slow at formatting, I feel like. So, and we'll go on to format card slot 2. So as you can see, we are formatting these cards right here. So boom. Awesome. So the format has been completed. And then what we'll do is we'll jump over to, I have markers. You see these little display markers right here? So these display markers, I like to keep my footage so that we can add in crop marks for the video itself. So I have those markers in there to remind me to try to keep whatever the main subject is in between those markers. Now I have that pre-set up where I could turn those markers off, so I only use them for weddings. So if you see there where it says marker display, I can turn those off, but I have them turned on. If they're turned off, I would go on and turn them on now. Next thing is I have preset picture profiles that I use so that the color correction goes easier. So I have that turned on. I'm set at 4K, so I need to switch over to 1080, and I need to switch over to 60. So we've done that. 60. Audio record level. Okay, so audio record level. If you're using little shotgun mics, which I'll use these as backup audio throughout the day. I hardly ever have to defer to this audio, but if I do, I want to be able to have some backup audio if my audio goes down. So with those mics, you want to be at between a 6 and an 8. So I'm going to go on and preset my audio record level to a 7 right now. And then field monitor. So if you notice here, I have this set up, and field monitor right there, and I have it set up so that it's set to monitor manual. So I don't want to be looking, I don't want to hit the sensor up here causing this to go away because it's trying to think I'm looking through the viewfinder. So I have that turned on. And then that's it. Those are the settings that I need to make sure are good. Okay, next thing I need to do is make sure I'm in video mode at the top of the camera. And then if I'm shooting at 60 frames per second, that means I need to have my shutter at 120. So I'm going to go on and put my shutter at 120. And boom. This camera's good to go. It's ready to pick up, put a lens on, and go. So we're going to do it for this camera now. Again, first thing we do is we go in and format both cards. By the way, if you guys are looking for a really good SD card holder, these Pelican cases are like amazing. I absolutely love these things. Let me get this next card. Let me get card slot 2 going. But the really cool thing about them is that they have, if you notice, you can put SD cards in here, and then the micros go underneath of it, which are fantastic because we use, I use a lot of micro SD cards for my drone, for my audio recording, for my GoPro. They use them all the time. Display markers are on, so I've got those set where I want them at. Picture profile is off, so I need to put it in the picture profile I want it at. We're already at, we need to switch from manual mode to camera mode. Boom. That's set. Picture profile is good, 60 frames. Field monitor is on auto, so I need to switch it to monitor. And then the last thing that I need to do is my markers are good, and I need to go on and put this at 125. And okay. So this camera's good, this camera's good. So they're going to go in their slots. So lenses that I use the 85-1.8. This thing is really awesome. I would say that this lens gets used about 20-30% of the day. So I only really use 3 lenses, to be honest. This is probably 50% of the day is the 28-75. This thing is awesome. It's the Tamron 28-75 F28. I love this lens. So this is what I will use most of the day on my monopod. Then I Also use the 28 f2. This pretty much stays on the gimbal the whole day. So this gets used 100% of the day, all day long, this little 28 f2. It's great for low light. Same thing with the 85 1.8, also very good for low light. I do have the Rokinon 14 millimeter f28. Now, I use this for about 5 minutes of the day. And that is usually when everyone's hitting the dance floor. This lens is phenomenal for getting a super wide shot of the dance floor and everybody on it, especially if you do some slow motion with it. Put it at 120 frames per second. So this Rokinon's, you know, I don't use it at every wedding, but I use it at most for a few minutes. I do have the Canon 24 to 105. I don't really use it that much. I do have the Metabones adapter for it, but I like having it just in case there's a very specific shot. Sometimes while the bride is getting ready, and I want to get some really nice tight shots of like the makeup artist and the makeup artist doing the makeup in the bride's face, or some very specific establishing shots or shots of things that are there in the bride's room with her bridesmaids, maybe gifts that she gave the bridesmaids or something like that. That 24 to 105 allows me to, I don't have to pull out the 7200, and it allows me to zoom in a little bit further in than my 85 or my 75. So next is the 70 to 200 f28 Tamron Canon. This gets used for one thing, the ceremony. That's it. So I'm able to put the camera way back in the back, and I'm able to get right up front and get a nice shot. That's the only time this lens gets used for video. For photography, that's a whole nother story. But for video, that's all I use it for. I do have, if I need to, I do have a 2x extender for that. So I'm able to make it a 140 to 400, and I lose 2 stops of light. But I have not needed to do that yet. So thankfully I will never have to. There's just more stuff that I want to put on the camera than I have to. And of course the Metabones version 5, so I can put my Canon glass on my Sony cameras. Next thing I do is I have a bag of just cords, just random cords. I hardly ever pull them out, but there is USB-C, there's Android, there's iPhone, whatever cords I need, I have them in this bag. So that's what I use these for. If I ever need them, I just have them. Also, I will, let's see here, what is next? I have backup plates. So this is a backup plate for my monopod, a backup plate for my tripod. If you've ever lost a plate or broken a plate during a shoot and you need it, have backups. Just order, they're like 10 bucks. Order backups. So I always have backup plates. Just in case I need them, I have the option. I always keep this in my bag. An iPhone, for me it's iPhone. If you use a different phone, whatever you use to charge your phone, that and a block, I always keep that in my bag. I never even take it out. I just leave those in my bag because I always know that I have them. I like to keep a power bank. Your phone's probably going to die, especially if for some reason I need to be super quick on the drone setup. I will skip using the iPad. I will use my iPhone, and my iPhone needs to be charged. So I keep a battery bank that will get me through the day. I keep that in the bag. You just never know when you need it. And I always have gaffer tape, which I just leave gaff tape in here. You never know when you need tape. It's happened more than once, so I always keep some gaff tape in the bag. Next thing, light. Now, to be honest, when it gets really dark on the dance floor and you need a little bit of light. Now, you don't want to blare people. You don't want to blind people. But I have this cute little digital photo, digital photo, FOTO, LED light. These things are awesome. One, because they'll match your color balance or Kelvin temperature. And they're super, super bright. So and they'll last for like, I think at full brightness, it's like 2 hours of really bright light, which is fantastic. So this is great if you're hitting the dance floor and you need a little bit of light. Don't overpower people because you'll blind them as well. You don't want it to look too fake with like that super LED bright white light. You want it to feel like more natural. So I'll put this at like 30 or 40%, sometimes even like 20%, and I'm able to get nice clean footage of people on the dance floor and not make it feel like I don't know, like you're just overpowering it with light and you're taking away from the moment. So I always have one of those, and then I'll have and then I'll just have a little bracket for it right there. So, and I always keep a bracket so it can sit on a bracket. I only need one light. That's all I usually take. Let's see what else we got here that I normally, none of this other stuff. This is my charging bay. So here, this is my GoPro bag. So this, again, the GoPro gets used one time the whole day. It gets used for the ceremony, that's it. And I'll just pull this bag out, set up the GoPro, but we're using that right now. Cleaning supplies. There are 3 things that I use for cleaning supplies. Before I start the day, I blow out. You do not want this to touch the sensor on the, and I'll actually show you guys how I do this. So what you need to do, take your Sony. Now this I do right before I set everything up. Always upside down like this. Take this, make sure you're not touching your sensor, and just blow. Try to get all that dust out. I've already cleaned the lens. I always clean the lens. I've already cleaned it, and then I keep the camera holding down there, and I just lock it in. And that way, I have a nice clean sensor. You don't want dust on your sensor. And then these things are fantastic. The little brush here, and if you need something a little bit more, you can pull this out. These little pin cleaners are fantastic, lens pins. And then if you should just have a microfiber cloth. You should just have one of these cloths. I actually use this more for my glasses because I wear glasses than anything. I'll clean my glasses off throughout the day. So I always have my cleaning supplies. I do have filters. I will take a polarizer filter for my 85 sometimes. I don't always use it. Actually, I'm going to go on and throw that in here just in case we need it. And then I do have a filter kit, which I don't have actually here at the house right now. I have to go my buddy's borrowing it, so I'm grabbing that from him later on today. Just in case it's a super bright day and I need to put ND filter on it to stop it down a few times. Batteries, I run 8 Sony batteries. Now, I will run through damn near all 8 batteries in a 10-hour to 12-hour wedding day. So I like to bring, I'll just bring one battery charger. This will charge 2 batteries at one time. And the really cool thing is it has a built-in USB piece right here. So I will plug that into the, if there's a wall outlet that I'm not going to be moving for a while, then I will plug it into the brick that I have. Like I said, I always keep an iPhone charger and a brick, and I'll plug into that in the wall if I can. But if not, that is why I have the battery bank that I bring with me. And it's like 20,000 milliamps, so I've never run through it. And I'll go on and start charging batteries as needed, depending on if I'm getting low on batteries. Once I've gone through like 5, I start kind of freaking out, and I've tried to set up a situation where I'm starting to charge batteries so that if I do run out of battery life, I have a backup. So if you're running 2 cameras or 1 camera, you should have 4 batteries. If it's a 10-hour day, you should probably have 4 batteries per camera, is what I like to have. All right, so next thing is audio. I have 2 audio. So far as camera audio is concerned, I run the Rode Videomicro Pro. This thing's a great piece of audio equipment right here. Again, I don't really use these audio. They are backup, so if something goes down, I at least have some okay audio. And then this is their Rode, I forgot what this one's called, the Videomicro. There's like 60 bucks. These things are great. I put this on the gimbal because it doesn't take up as much room. And this little guy is great on the gimbal. And I'll run that all day long, and then I'll put this on the Monopod camera. And I'll run this all day long. Again, you want to set your audio level to like between 6 and 8 for these specific mics. So I'll have the audio, I'll put them in the bag. And actually one thing that I forgot to do was preset the audio on one of these. So I'm actually going to go in and do that real quick, because you guys are literally watching me set up for tomorrow. So yep, that is set up. That's good. Okay. That's already pre-set up, which is great. So next thing we need is actual audio for the bride and groom, for the officiant. And really, you're only running audio pretty much for the reception, and you're going to run audio for the ceremony. That's very important. Now, I have one of the audio devices on me right now that we're using to record this video. So, but it's the same device as this. So this is the DR10L by Tascam. These things are amazing. They get nice, high quality audio. You just plug them in here, and they're not wireless. I do not like wireless systems because if something interferes with that signal, you might lose that audio, and that audio is really important, especially for the ceremony. So I have that, and then for the reception, I'll get with the DJ, and this is just a nice little XLR. It's very similar, and it just plugs into the DJ board, and it will just record all the audio for the whole night at the reception. So I'll just run this. Now make sure, and this is something that I do, is with the audio devices, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn them on. And it's almost impossible to turn these audio devices off unless you know what you're doing. Like myself, if you've used them before, you know how to turn them off. But you don't have to worry about the officiant or the groom unless they're like going in on purposely messing with it. If they bump it or something like that, these devices are just going to keep recording, and they'll record forever. So I need to go on and put cards in them. So this is actually the card for this one right here. I have every card labeled too, so I don't get confused when backing up footage. I know which card goes to which device, and which device I always put the number 1. This is number 1 right here. I always put that on the groom. Number 2 always goes on the officiant, and number 3 is always being run into the DJ board. So the more you have mapped out and figured out, the easier it is going to be for editing and everything else. So what we'll do is I'll turn on the audio device. I'll check battery life. If I need to switch the battery, I will do that. So battery life, it actually does need to be switched. So what we'll do is, before we do that, I'm going to go in and actually format the card. I don't want to have other audio on here. Again, I could put a ton of audio on these 32 gig cards, but I don't want that. So I'm going to go on and format it. I already know I've got it backed up. I know that it needs a new battery, so this battery is no good. And what we'll do is we'll go on and put new batteries in it. These batteries will last, these little Amazon basic batteries, they'll last a couple hours. So they'll get you through a ceremony, no problems. A whole entire Catholic ceremony or Hindu ceremony if needed. So, boom, new battery, cards in there, cards formatted. Same thing with this one. Battery is good on this. It doesn't have a card, so we need to go in and grab the card for it and format it, and then those will be ready to go. Again, the more you can have set up now, the better. And because I'm walking you guys through this video, I would probably be doing this video in half the time, or I'd be doing the setup in half the time. But while explaining it to you guys, it's going to take, it's taking a little bit longer. As you guys haven't noticed, we're getting to this point. If you made it this far, thank you. You must really want to learn how to become a better videographer for weddings, or want to know the equipment I use. So, all right, so this is good. They're formatted. This one is I always forget the name. This is the DR10X, not the L. The whole setup, I think, is about $400, and these things are absolutely amazing. And then the second unit is actually on me right now, so I'm actually using that. So I will throw that into this bag here shortly. Batteries are good, and usually I will keep, and actually I think I'm low on batteries, I will keep a couple extra batteries in this bag right here, so that if something does go down, I do have batteries ready to go. So I'll put that in my bag. So now all SD cards, I do have, I have a few extra SD cards and stuff if I need to, but they're going to go in here. Boom. Now, far as backup audio, I have a really nice bag full of backup audio. This is wireless audio, Sony's, all the cords you would need. And I also have extra cords in that bag for if it's RCA hookup, a 1/4 inch hookup, or XLR hookup. So I'm able to rig my audio into just about any DJ board. You need to have those extra cords because they're very important, because if you're just doing XLR, you're going to run into a DJ that does RCA. If you just have RCA, you're going to run into a DJ that only has XLR. So this is, I've never had to use this, but if audio or something breaks or goes down, I do have my wireless Sony audio set up, and I can defer to this if I absolutely have to. So I believe, and let me double check everything, because I've done this so many times, it's almost like second nature to me now. I believe that's kind of a walkthrough. Oh, one last thing that I absolutely love to have is this little think tank. This is the strobe stuff. So this is mainly made to put your strobe in. I don't. I put extra SD cards. I put a few tools in here. So like I'll run, if I need to screw stuff in and out of the, like my plates and stuff, I'll have that sitting in here. I'll have an extra lens in here. So this is where my 85 sits. So if I'm not using the 28 to 75, I'll switch over to the 85 right here. And I can switch those lenses in and out, as well as I'll have extra batteries. So I always have 2 extra batteries in here. And that just sits on my hip all day long. And this thing is, I absolutely love this little bag. I don't know what I would do without it because it allows me to have a few extra pieces of equipment with me, but it doesn't take up a bunch of real estate. So, and I'll have that. And then I will also, and I forgot this was sitting up here, so I will bring this as a backup tripod. This is another one of these LED lights, but these Joby a monopod, or I don't know what these things are called, gorilla pods or whatever. If I can't find a good spot to put the GoPro because of where people are sitting or the way the ceremony's set up, usually there's something that this can literally hang on to, and I can get high enough up to get a good GoPro shot. So I always take this. I very rarely have to use it, but I do bring it with me just in case. So I do have a backup. And that is pretty much everything that I take to a wedding for a videographer. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. And of course, if you even have suggestions and you're like, man, why don't you try this out? If you're out there and you shoot weddings and you think you could help me out with a piece of equipment that I'm missing here, I think for the most part, this is almost the perfect setup for what I do wedding videography wise. I absolutely love this setup. And I think it works out really, really well. But yeah, so this is everything that I take to a wedding. And of course, I will have my laptop bag. So if for some reason I need to jump on the computer or backup footage right then and there, I don't know, but I always have a laptop with me in the car. I just hardly ever pull it out. Yeah, so this is my wedding setup. Anyways, guys, thanks for stopping in. And if you got any questions, leave a comment, send us an email. Hit us up on Facebook, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. You guys have a great day. You guys have made it this far. If you want to check out our newest video, it will be right here. If you want to check out the product, it will be down here. If you do happen to click on it and purchase it, it does give us a little bit of commission, and that helps me a lot keep making these videos. And of course, guys, right down below, go on and leave a comment, hit that subscribe button, follow along. We'll catch you next time.